What is good, Tsla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with the overall market, what you should be watching for moving forward. I'm going to talk about Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers, what the news is saying about the market, how sentiment is looking so far, and some very big pieces of news that just came out that could help the market bounce very soon. I'm also going to break down why tomorrow has even more data coming out and what you should be watching for as a Tesla trader or investor. But before I break anything down about all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. This offer ends in just 5 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market and Tesla. So we had another aggressive sell-off for today for the markets. The market made an attempt to bounce in the morning. We saw this for SPY and also for Tesla, and then the move ended up failing, and we saw the sellers take over. So we had two attempts to bounce today. Let me just show you on SPY and Tesla real quick. So you guys can see them right here. Basically on SPY, we came all the way down to like 414 yesterday. We bounced about 417. I was talking about this move, but we failed to break 417, got a back test and came all the way down, made one attempt to try to break this 200 EMA, and we failed again on SPY, and we had a very weak close for SPY. Same thing for Tesla, only closing at 205. But the question is, will Tesla and SPY and all these tickers continue to sink, or can we see a bounce for tomorrow? So I'm going to break down some important factors about this, and so far we have one good catalyst for tomorrow. So I'm going to switch over to Amazon. It just reported its earnings, and this thing is up so far. It's up about 3.7% as of right now. More buyers are continuing to step in. So long as Amazon tries to maintain a level above like 2% or so, I think we're going to be in a very good place for tomorrow. Remember that Amazon is a massive, massive company, right? It's worth over $1 trillion in market cap, and it's so huge, and it has the potential to really, really shake this market. So with Amazon, its capabilities and its powers, let's actually look at how earnings went. They're actually, I think, in the right now. So they beat on EPS, 94 cents per share versus 58 cents expected. That's a big beat. Their revenue is a beat as well, $134 billion versus $141 billion. So these are good earnings so far. They also beat on advertising, not to mention their web services revenue. So that's not bad whatsoever. And they're also telling us that its fourth quarter sales should still be between 160 to 167 billion in revenue. So we have some strong guidance moving forward. They're raising their estimates, and they're telling us that, hey, there's still some strength for this company. There's still some strength for their net sales. And this is some very, very good news for the company. Now, one thing that was concerning amongst investors was the fact that they lost some control over cloud. That's because of their Amazon Web Services being led by like Microsoft and these other competitors. So with that potentially happening, that was a little concerning, but besides that, it's still holding up quite nicely. It's still up 3.8%, and Amazon alone could shake the entire stock market. This could help the market bounce to some extent. But on top of this, this is not all the news that's coming out. There was some news for Apple. There was news about how it got some price cuts because of the softening iPhone 15 sales, but we're going to be waiting for longer to see how Apple's earnings end up going. Besides that, we have some other piece of news coming out for Tesla. Hertz has pulled back on EV plans, citing that the Tesla price cuts and high cost of repairs have been getting in the way. So with that happening, I mean, this is not the best of news, but it's not the end of the world because, like I said before, guys, Tesla's going to be completely fine amidst this news. I think this news came out that caused Tesla to pull back a bit, but buyers are starting to come back anyways, and the Amazon news has been trumping this, so it's going to be okay for Tesla. But I wanted to call out something else that's very important. That is tomorrow, we have PCE data coming out. Now, this could cause the market to move in either direction, but there's one thing I want to mention, and that is PCE tomorrow is coming out for the month of September. So this is like CPI, basically another important inflationary measure for the Fed. And here's the thing about it. CPI came out to, excuse me, sorry guys. CPI came out 2 weeks ago already. And when CPI came out for the month of September, it was aligned with expectations. We got a decent CPI, at least based off estimates. So CPI year over year was 3.7%. The forecast and the consensus were between 3.6 and 3.7%. That was aligning with the expectations. Core CPI year over year was 4.1%, aligning with expectations as well. So CPI for September was decent. That tells me that there's a good chance that PCE is going to be decent for the same month. It's basically super similar data. They're just calculated kind of differently based off their weights and such. But overall, not bad whatsoever. So we're expecting core PCE to be 3.6 to 3.7%. That's what the expectation is. And we're expecting PCE year over year for all items to be around 3.2 to 3.4%. In my opinion, it's going to be maybe very close to where the estimates are, maybe a little bit on the higher end, but it should still be aligned with expectations, in my opinion. That's what I'm predicting. And I think there's a very good chance of that happening because CPI was, aligned with expectations too, right? And there's a very, very good chance that this correlation will exist, and this could be quite decent overall. So we're going to be watching that very carefully. Don't forget that as long as Amazon holds up quite nicely, this could help the market even more. It's now up 4.3%, still holding up. So it's going to be another bullish catalyst. And I believe that PC is going to be just fine. Now, later on tomorrow, when the market opens, we have Barr from the Fed giving a speech. Then 30 minutes after open, we have the final pieces of data for the week. We have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Reports coming out and the 5-year inflationary expectations. So we'll see what happens with that data. But for now, I do believe that the data so far suggests that there could be a bounce coming at least temporarily for the markets. I'll have to see if that lasts or not. Now, the fear and greed index is still very fearful. We're very close to extreme fear on all these different indicators. And that is the time to turn bullish or get very greedy in the markets as we're seeing some very good buying opportunities. I believe that 410 to like 412 is a very good buying opportunity on SPY. Also, don't forget about those low levels on Tesla, on SPX, and etc. And even if Tesla does have more downside in the future because the news could be capricious, it could be very unpredictable sometimes, there's always going to be more and more lucrative opportunities to be buying those dips, regardless of if Tesla drops more or not. But I wanted to add on something very important. On top of all this, right, we had Amazon beating earnings, which could help the market tomorrow. We had a decent CPI that came out in the middle of the month, and then that suggests that PCE should be decent as well. And on top of all of this, look at the options chain for SPY. We have just over this is just over about, or like very close to 540,000 calls expiring, but we have over a million puts expiring tomorrow, with 423 being max pain and a 2.03 puts to call ratio. So the majority of people, the majority of positions are in puts for tomorrow. People are shorting the market hard, betting on a crash, something very bad to happen. And you have to consider that only a small percentage of the puts are even in the money. So hypothetically, right, if I was a market maker, if I was one of those big institutions, I would not want to pay out these premiums, and I would probably try to get us closer to max pain, or at least try to get more of these puts out of the money. That is the most advantageous thing that these market makers could do for their own benefit. So that increases the odds of agreeing close tomorrow for SPY. Now, am I promising it? I can't really do that because it depends on PCE and such. So we're going to be waiting very carefully, and we're going to be talking more about that in just a few minutes. For Tesla, we have overweight ratings from Morgan Stanley and Wedbush, which is decent news. The price-price ratio is kind of like flattening at this 0.5 level, which tells us that Tesla's getting very close to basing, or at least temporarily, right? Could a Tesla like drop more in the future? It still could, but temporarily for now, it is trying to base around that 202 level. That's what it's been trying to do for the last couple of days. And finally, we tend to be green about 49% of the time on Fridays. It's basically a coin flip. Expect more volatility at noon and at 2 p.m. Eastern time for Tesla. And that's pretty much it for the data. The financial estimates are still quite good for Tesla, with more upside for like the much longer term for many years ahead. And last but not least, we have this. The volume was 115 million almost, which is not bad whatsoever, although Tesla did drop. So we're going to be looking at some very important data. Now, let me just call out the fact that, okay, even though it's unlikely, there's always the possibility that PCE inflation is going to be a little bit hot. So I want to go over both possibilities and tell you what's more likely to happen for tomorrow for the stock market. All right, so starting off, Amazon is now up 4.4%, looking quite strong. This is going to help the markets, in my opinion, but let's break down some very important levels. Let me actually start off with Tesla. And I'm not going to be using TradingView today, guys. I'm going to switch over just to Webull just to make this quick and simple. So we have a bullish divergence on Tesla on the 30 minutes time frame, on the hourly, and also on the 4 hour. We have some bullish divergences developing, which suggests that a bounce is imminent. That's the first big thing worth noting. But just to be safe, let's go over the possibilities. If Tesla ends up dropping, you're going to be watching 202.5 as critical support to about 200. Watch those levels in case we get a hot PCE report. The odds do not favor that, however. The odds favor it being quite decent looking at historical data. If we're bullish, you want to see Tesla get above 212. If we manage to get all the way up there and break it, we could see a push for like 215 to 217. Now, what do I think is more likely to happen? What is my prediction? Well, guys, always be open minded, right? We don't truly know what's going to happen with PCE, but I just want to let you know that the odds do favor. There's a higher probability that we're going to get a decent PCE, in my opinion, and more catalysts to help the market try to rebound a bit, especially thanks to Amazon. So, with this bullish divergence on Tesla, I would say that it's very probable Tesla's going to try to push up higher. And we're going to see Tesla try to retest this 50 EMA at 209. If we break this, we could be watching for 210, 212.5. And that's where we have some very key resistance. If we hold above 212, I could see 215, 217 to 218 after that, and then 220 for Tesla. I think there's a good chance it's going to get to at least 215, and we'll see if that breaks or not. But I'm going to be anticipating a bounce for tomorrow. I find that to be very, very probable. For SPY, if we're bearish, you want to see this thing break below 412 and come down to 411 to 410, which is where we have some key support. If we lose 410, that's going to be a bearish signal, and we could see SPY come down towards like 409, 407.5, 405, and levels like that. But I'm not really leaning in that direction. We'll see if we break below 410 or not. I really think that's unlikely. If we're bullish, you want to see this thing hold above 415. If we break that, watch the 30 minutes 50 EMA, and also the 5 minutes 200 EMA is another one to be watching for. Those are two resistance levels. So it's basically like 415, then 416. That's basically what these levels are very close to. And if we get above 415, that's going to be a bullish signal of us breaking the 200 EMA on the 5-minute time frame. Then we can be watching for 416. If we break that, watch 417.3, 418. And if we get above 418, then 420 is a possibility. So what do I think is more likely? Do I think we're going to drop more or bounce? We have a bullish divergence on SPY, so the odds do favor this thing trying to push up towards at least 416 or so. So I find that very probable. And don't forget that we have a max pain at 423. The market makers do not have to get us perfectly to 423, but they could make an attempt to push us closer to it, such as like around 418 or so. So I lean a little bit more bullish going into tomorrow. We have a nice double bottom like formation that's forming. And I think Amazon is going to come to the rescue. I think that PCE is going to be decent most likely. And I think that some bulls will try to step in for a short squeeze for tomorrow. On top of that, let's look at Apple stock. Actually, let's look at Aapl and then the IWM after that. So for Aapl, we have a bullish divergence developing on the charts. We had some negative news about their sales dropping for the iPhone 15, possibly happening, and some price cuts for them. And that's why Apple sank the way it did, alongside external factors such as the GDP numbers and etc. But what's good about Apple for the bulls is we have a bullish divergence. If we're bearish, watch 165 break. If we lose it, 163.5 is likely coming. We have 164, then 163.5. Sorry about that, guys. And for resistance, we have 167.3 to be watching for. If we get above the 20 EMA, watch this thing basically get very close to 168, 169, and then 170 are three main resistance levels. But I believe what's more probable, okay, is going to be a bounce thanks to the bullish divergence. And we're going to see Apple try to get very close to 170, in my honest opinion. I'm leaning a bit more in that direction. And then for, let me just say, the IWM is already showing some strength off the bullish divergence. If we're bullish, you want to see this thing break above 165, and I think the odds favor that for a 166 retest. We could even retest the 200 EMA at 166.68. If we're bearish, you want to see it break below 164. If that happens, watch 163 as support. If we lose that, watch 162.62. My gut tells me we're going to see some upside as we're getting very tight. We might see this thing push for 166. Now, for the triple Q, we are looking quite decent right now, especially thanks to Amazon. We have a bullish divergence developing on the chart. If we're bullish, you want to see it break and hold above 346. If it does so, watch 348, then 350 as key resistance levels. For supports, do not forget to be looking at 344 to 345, so basically down here. If we lose that, watch 342.3, and then we have 340 below that. My gut is leaning a bit more bullish. I think the odds favor 348 for tomorrow. On Nvda, we're starting to bounce thanks to Amazon. Right now, we have a nice bullish divergence developing on the chart, and we formed a kind of like a double bottom here. So I think that if we're bearish, you want to be watching this thing break below 400 to come down to 398 and 395. If we're bullish, you want to see this get above 412. And then if it breaks that, watch 415 to 418, followed by 420, 422.5, and 425. My gut tells me we're going to see this thing try to push up higher and get very close to the 200 EMA at 424. I'm leaning a bit more bullish, and I think we might see a little pop on Nvda. Don't forget about Max Payne and what's going on with these market makers and etc. So for Microsoft, we have a bullish divergence. I think we could see a pop for 333.5. I think the odds favor that. It's looking a bit more bullish on the chart, so look for a little bit of upside. AMD came down very aggressively, but we formed a potential inverse head and shoulders like structure right here if we hold 93 as the bottom. If we lose it, we could sink towards 90, but I'm leaning a bit more bullish, and I think that 97.5 can be retested, followed by 98. I think that Amazon's just coming to the rescue. The VIX also on the 30-minute time frame has a head and shoulders that's developing. So if this does play out and the VIX starts sinking, this could be because of the market bouncing. This also favors the bullish narrative. Just a couple more for the dollar. It's been on a downtrend off its bearish divergence that developed today. So if it continues to downtrend, this could be because of the market potentially bouncing. So we're going to be watching for that. It's at support right now at 106.5. If it loses that, that's going to be bullish. If not, it is what it is. But watch it very carefully. For Coinbase, if we're bearish, watch it retest 72 as key support. If we're bullish, watch 78. It's trying to bounce. I was thinking it may retest 72, then bounce, but it doesn't have to. So I think we could be coming up to 78 very soon. For Google, if we're bullish, you want to see this thing break above 125. If we're bearish, you want to see it lose 122 and come down to 120. After dropping so hard, we have a possible inverse head and shoulder structure. As long as we hold above 122, I could see 125 being retested. This could actually bounce if we hold these levels. But I'm not as confident about Google for now. The 10-year treasury yield has a bearish divergence playing out, and we also have a gap down here. This also kind of looks like a head and shoulders like structure. If we start sinking, you're going to be watching support around 48, or basically 4.8%. If we lose that and start sinking a little bit lower, that could be bullish for the markets. Amazon is now up 4.6% in the after hours, testing its 200 EMA on the 30 minutes time frame. It looks like the odds are now favoring upside for tomorrow for Amazon and some more buyers stepping in. Last but not least for Meta, there's a nice bullish divergence on the chart, a potential inverse head and shoulders. We have these imbalances up here towards this 307 area. I think the odds favor Meta trying to get back above 295 and basically retesting 300. I'm leaning a bit more bullish on Meta, but just to be safe, we want to see it break above the 50 EMA at 293. If we lose 280, I'm sorry, not 280, 285, if we lose that, then there's going to be a risk of downside. But for now, I'm not really seeing that. I think the odds favor a bounce, so watch that very carefully. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. I thank you all so much for listening. Hopefully this video was insightful and helpful for many viewers out there. I just want the best for everyone, so please take care. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, and just know that Amazon could be coming to the rescue alongside PCE possibly. So the odds favor some upside for the markets, but just to be safe, let's see what PCE does just to be open-minded. I am leaning a bit more in favor of the bulls for tomorrow. That's it for this one. Thanks again, guys. Have a good night, a good evening, or wherever you are, and take care. Thanks again, guys, and peace out.